Coach Jason here, and today we're going to be looking at how to recognize checkmate patterns. There's going to be 5 different categories of checkmate patterns that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to be looking at kind of basic ones to start and going from more and more difficult up to 3-move checkmates after we've looked at a couple other examples of that particular checkmate pattern. We play for the kings on the bottom half of the board, so the bottom half of your screen, whether that's white or black, that's the color we're playing for, but I will try to remind you that as we go along. And I will also let you know ahead of time to go ahead and pause your video so you can have an opportunity to take as much time as you need to think about some of these checkmate scenarios. Maybe on the video there's only a few seconds that go by, but I'm expecting that you're going to pause the video and then go ahead and think about it as you like. So we have over a dozen examples here that we're going to go over, so it might be a relatively long video, so maybe you want to grab a snack or something, but let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, it is white to play here and checkmate in a single move. This is called the Opera Mate. A game from 1858 is where this comes from, between Paul Morphy and a couple of gentlemen in an opera. Go ahead and pause your videos. And yeah, just mate in a single move. We know the bishop can't be checkmating because he's a dark squared bishop. The king's on a light square, so only checks. We'd have this check, and then that is checkmate. And this next one is also an opera mate. It's also an opera mate, so checkmate in 2 moves this time. It is black to play and checkmate in 2 moves. You can go ahead and pause your video and think about it at your leisure. So same checkmate as we had in the last puzzle there. That's the same final move. So look for check and then checkmate. And I'm going to go ahead and reveal now, so hopefully you've paused it if you wanted to, but we can actually sacrifice the queen. The bishop is going to capture back, and then rook takes, so Rx, what is that? Rook takes D8 is checkmate, and it is that Morphy's mate with the bishop defending the rook. Or opera mate. Paul Morphy did it. I call it Morphy's mate, but it's actually opera mate. Okay, and we're bringing up the level here, but this is the same checkmate that we see down there, except for this time it's 3 moves out. This is one of the longer ones as far as how far out you have to reach. So you can go ahead and pause your video if you want to think about it, but it's checkmate in 3 moves. But it is going to be check, check, checkmate. And this involves the most powerful tactic in the game of chess, the double check. And we can actually sacrifice our queen because of this double check, and we're going to end up with the opera mate. And we can actually go ahead and sacrifice our queen, and now we've got this double check. The bishop checks, the rook checks. There's no way, you can't capture both, so he's got to move, and then we've got that opera mate once again. Moving on to a new form. This is the Anderson mate, so it is white to play and checkmate in a single move. Go ahead and pause your video. But yeah, our pawn is defending up here both of these squares, and our king's got that defended, so we can just drop the rook down, and that's checkmate. So again, we have the Anderson mate, and this is the Anderson mate in actually 3 moves. So go ahead and pause your video if you want to think about it. This one's a little bit different than the norm though, but it is a checkmate in 3 moves. Bit of a challenge. Pause your video. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reveal here. So the Anderson's mate is where you have that pawn in that real strong position, just kind of blocking in the king. It's defended, and you could do it with a rook. So even if we had a rook here, this would work, because we're threatening to come down to the h1 square there. The bishop just sacrificed itself, and there's still no way to stop this Anderson's mate. We're going to move on to what is called a Dovetail Mate. So Dovetail Mate, so this diagram is just kind of showing it. If we move the queen over here, having this tail of pieces here, this rook and pawn are the tail of the bird, if you will. Be a little better if they were maybe a couple of rooks or something, so they're symmetrical like a bird. But yeah, we can just go ahead and move the queen here, and that is a Dovetail Mate. And this next puzzle is a very similar sort. Okay, so it is white to play and checkmate in a single move. You can go ahead and pause your video and think about it as you like. Okay, so we have white to play and checkmate in a single move, and we've got the same tail that we saw in the last one actually, so it's the same setup as that tail. So yeah, we've got the rook and the pawn blocking them in, the bishop protects, and that is Dovetail Mate. Okay, so this is again Dovetail Mate. It's a checkmate in a single move. So go ahead and pause your video and think about it as you like. Checkmate in one. Okay, hopefully you've had opportunity to pause the video. So this one's kind of tricky because the tail is attacked squares rather than actual pieces acting as a tail. So we can actually play the move queen to e8, and that's checkmate since the bishop. So once I move the queen there, the bishop will be taking these two squares. This bishop here attacks those two squares, and that is the tail of the king. So we're able to play this, once again, Dovetail Mate. Now, this is a very similar checkmate, this next one. So this is actually a checkmate in two, and it's kind of like the Dovetail Mate. They're calling it Cozy's Mate here. But white to move and checkmate in two moves. Go ahead and pause your video. Think about it as you like. But yeah, check and then checkmate. There's no real good checks here. You know, if we play the check down here, no other real good checks. If we play this check, queen to f2 check, they could just switch queens and a good chance they're going to win the game. I think they have a good chance. It's kind of tough to promote that pawn. But this move here, queen to h6, sets them up, and then this pawn and queen become the tail, and that is checkmate. Okay. So Swallowtail Mate. So very similar to the Dovetail Mate. White to play and checkmate in a single move. Go ahead and pause your video. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to pause your video. Just, yeah, queen to e6. QE6 is game over, defended by the rook. Looks similar to a checkmate we'll see shortly called the Epaulette Mate. Okay. White to play and checkmate once again in a single move with this Swallowtail Mate again. You can go ahead and pause your video and think about it. Hopefully you've had a chance to pause your video. But yeah, just go ahead and move the queen down, and again the pawn and the rook act as the tail in this Swallowtail Mate. Okay, kind of a similar checkmate is the Epaulette Mate. The Epaulette Mate. It is white to play and checkmate in a single move. Go ahead and pause your video. But yeah, so this king has epaulettes. So epaulettes like a military dress shoulder pad, as you see down in the picture there. But that is an epaulette checkmate. And this is another epaulette checkmate. Quite a bit more complicated, but black is going to checkmate the white king in two moves with this same epaulette checkmate as we just saw. So go ahead and pause your video and think about it as you like. We can actually sacrifice, hopefully you've had a chance to pause your video. We can go ahead and sacrifice the rook here because he's got those epaulettes on his shoulder. There's two rooks, the white rooks. And actually there's nothing that can stand in the way here. This is checkmate. Pretty cool puzzle there. Okay, this is a game of Magnus Carlsen's, I think early 2000s, where he actually sacrificed some material to get into this position where he knew he could force the Epaulette Mate. And it is checkmate in one move here. White to play. You can go and pause your video, think about it as you like. Hopefully you've had a chance to pause your video. But yeah, queen to d7 here is an Epaulette checkmate. This concludes our video on how to recognize checkmate patterns. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe, hit that like button, and the notification bell, as I will be posting many more chess videos. And if you want to know about upcoming chess videos, that notification bell will let you know. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.